It was a gift from my parents. They bought it here in Kansas City from the Hall's department store. I think probably in the mid-60s. They had seen it and it reminded them of the fact that I used to enjoy playing the piano late at night. The title says, "The melody haunts my reverie," which I think is their way of saying I was keeping them up.
Yeah. Many sleepless nights listening to you play piano. Is that it?
Right, just coincidental.
The piece in question is "The Melody Haunts My Reverie," a color screen print created by the influential American pop artist Roy Lichtenstein. This print belongs to one of his earliest explorations into the pop art visual language that would later define his career. Although Lichtenstein had worked through the 1940s and the 1950s in abstract styles common in mid-century American art, everything shifted in the early 1960s when he returned to New York and developed his now iconic comic-inspired aesthetic. Central to this style is the use of Ben-Day dots, mechanically patterned, closely spaced dots that mimic commercial comic book printing, yet elevated into fine art. Created in 1965 for one of three major pop art group portfolios, this print marks a significant moment in Lichtenstein's artistic evolution. It comes from a special Roman numeral edition of only 50 impressions, making it far rarer than the standard edition of 200. The technique used color screen printing was especially favored by pop artists for its vibrant, layered application of ink. When viewed up close, the thick, carefully built-up surface reveals both the physicality of the ink and the precision of its placement. Beyond its striking visual style, the print embodies the early spirit of pop art, a period when artists like Lichtenstein challenged traditional ideas about high and low culture by drawing directly from mass-produced imagery. The composition's bold lines, saturated colors, and comic panel drama reflect this transformative moment in American art, making "The Melody Haunts My Reverie" not only a landmark print in Lichtenstein's career, but also an emblem of pop art's rise during the 1960s.
I've taken a close look at it, I've spent time looking at it, and it ranks among the best examples of any of these I've ever seen. And I would suggest that you have a replacement value on this of $300,000.
It's definitely going to remain in the family.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you have it, and it's a wonderful work. I'm glad you brought it in.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the good news.
The print has been in my family for many, many years. I acquired it to inheritance.
Now, were your parents collectors of this sort of thing, or?
No. Much of the interest comes from my grandfather, who was a member of the New York Society of Etchers way long time ago and began a collection at that time that I've been fortunate enough to inherit.
So this is just one of a handful of things that you grew up with around you as a youth, and now you have on your wall?
Absolutely.
The print titled "The Cat Boat," created by Edward Hopper, is one of the most compelling examples of his early work in etching. Hopper, born in 1882, is widely celebrated for his evocative portrayals of solitude and quiet urban spaces, yet his printmaking of the 1910s and the 1920s reveals an equally powerful dimension of his artistry. After years navigating an uncertain career as an illustrator in New York and spending formative periods studying in Paris, Hopper turned to etching around 1915, ultimately producing about 70 prints that played a crucial role in establishing his artistic identity. Completed in 1922, the Catboat showcases Hopper's signature command of stark contrast. The brilliant white of the paper stands in sharp opposition to the deep, velvety blacks of his ink, an approach he favored for its clarity and emotional resonance. The scene is direct, yet quietly charged, built not from elaborate detail but from deliberate light, disciplined structure, and a sense of balance that creates atmosphere rather than narrative. Beneath the image lies Hopper's characteristic, small, precise pencil signature, a subtle reminder of the artist's hand at work. Because Hopper printed his etchings in very limited quantities, often producing impressions only when a buyer emerged, the Catboat survives today in fewer than 25 known examples. Its rarity, combined with its significance within the decade that defined Hopper's printmaking practice, makes it an exceptional work that captures the introspective mood and stark beauty that later shaped his most iconic paintings.
Would you hazard a guess as to what its value might be?
Well, more than I thought originally, I think, just because of the interest that's been taken by many people, yourself included.
Right. Well, as an insurance value on this, and I would suggest insuring something like this, I would put an insurance value on it of $250,000.
Really?
Yes.
That's more money than belongs in my living room, I think.
It's a real masterpiece, and you're lucky to have that.
Wow. Goosebumps today.
These were a birthday gift to me from my brother. My brother has a fabulous art collection. I admired him from when he bought them in the 70s, and one day he surprised me and gave them to me.
Where was he buying them?
He bought them in New York. My brother worked for the post office his entire life.
Okay.
And if he was a little overextended, he would eat tuna fish for weeks.
Right. So
and he'd work overtime.
He extended himself to buy art.
Yes.
These two prints form a remarkable pairing by John Sloan and Edward Hopper, two influential American artists whose work helped define the character of early 20th century New York. Sloan, born in 1871, was a leading figure of the Ashcan school, celebrated for his vivid depictions of the city's everyday grit and working-class life. His Etching Easter Eve, taken from an edition of 100, captures Washington Square Park with lively observational detail and the bustling spirit of New York streets. Hopper, born in 1882 and later renowned for his quiet, introspective scenes, produced far fewer prints throughout his career. His etching The Railroad, created in 1922 and issued in a very small edition of perhaps only 25 to 50 impressions, reflects the stark architectural mood and sense of solitude that would become central to his mature paintings. Both artists began as illustrators in New York, where they honed a mastery of line, shadow, and urban atmosphere. Etching, a medium that uses incised metal plates and ink to create finely detailed impressions, allowed them to transform the energy, tension, and texture of city life into intimate, collectible artworks. The two prints together form a fascinating visual dialogue, Sloan documenting the lively human rhythms of New York, while Hopper captures its quiet, structural poetry. As a pair, they offer a richly layered glimpse into the artistic pulse of the city during the early 1900s.
I hope I don't disappoint you with this, but the Sloan would have a replacement value of around $5,000.
Oh my, okay.
On the other hand, the Hopper, which is just beautiful and so scarce, has a replacement value of about $100,000.
Goodness.
So it's
wow.
a beautiful print, and it's a great set by two masters of New York printmaking from the early part of the 1900s.
Excellent.
And you couldn't have gotten a nicer birthday gift.
I couldn't have gotten a nicer brother.
Well, I know it's by Thomas Hart Benton. This is the original lithograph of the wreck of the old 97. Originally, my dad bought it in 1946 in Dallas.
Well, Thomas Hart Benton from Missouri, was born in 1889, lived a very full life, very colorful life, before he passed in 1975.
After studying in Paris, Benton developed a lasting interest in portraying everyday Americans, focusing on common people, local histories, and the character of his native Midwest. His energetic lines and sculptural forms became hallmarks of a style rooted deeply in movement and narrative. Printed in 1944 in an edition of 250, this lithograph captures Benton's dynamic approach to storytelling. The subject, the 1903 wreck of the mail train, Old 97 traveling from Virginia to North Carolina, gave him an opportunity to reinterpret a well-known historical event through dramatic curves, compressed space, and rhythmic tension. The result is a vivid depiction that conveys both the speed of the locomotive and the urgency of its final moments. The piece was originally distributed by the Associated American Artists, a New York-based organization founded in 1934 to make fine art accessible to the general public. The original AAA label on the back provides valuable historical context and affirms the work's authenticity as a mid-century publication. Despite minor signs of age, such as toning and matte burn, the lithograph remains a strong and representative example of Benton's narrative and expressive style.
I think we have a trend in the making here. So I think in terms of if it were offered today, probably say more like $20,000 to $30,000. So it's really quite a valuable print when you think about it.
Yeah, so am I.
This was given to me by Helen Frankenthaler on the day I was born. She was a really close friend of my grandparents. My grandfather was her doctor for many years, and the way they got so close is that she would often pay him in art instead of paying medical bills.
Nice.
So they've established a really good friendship, and then this was given to me as a birthday present.
On the day you were born?
Yes.
This lithograph, created by Helen Frankenthaler in 1983 and later dedicated to its recipient in 1986, is a vibrant example of the artist's mastery of color and gesture. Frankenthaler, born in 1928 and celebrated as one of the leading figures of abstract expressionism, was known for her groundbreaking soak stain approach, in which pigment sank into the surface to produce fluid, luminous fields of color. Her printmaking, which began in the 1960s and continued throughout her life, extended these painterly ideas into editions that still feel intimate and spontaneous. This particular work, a color lithograph, showcases her sensitivity to layered hues, especially the glowing reds and pinks that define its atmosphere. Executed through the Tosh lithographic process where ink is painted directly onto the stone, it retains the softness and wash-like movement characteristic of her paintings. The inscription presentation proof further signals its rarity within her typically small edition sizes, making it both a personal gift and a significant example of her printmaking practice.
What would your guess be as to a replacement value for this?
I have
No
no
idea.
concept. I tried to do some research but couldn't really find anything comparable.
Well, to be on the safe side, I would suggest that you insure this or put a replacement value on it of around $15,000.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much.
This artwork is The Summer Cat, a color lithograph created in 1909 by Theophile Steinlen, a Swiss-born artist who became one of the most recognizable visual voices of fin de siècle Paris. Steinlen moved to Paris in the early 1880s, where he began his career as an illustrator and soon became celebrated for his poster designs. Though he produced images of workers and the urban poor with strong social intent, he is most beloved today for his iconic portrayals of Parisian cats, many of which were modeled after his own pets. As a color lithograph, this piece belongs to a larger tradition of early 20th century printmaking, where artists collaborated with publishers to create editions accessible to a wider public. The composition, marked by soft shading, warm tonal transitions, and the poised elegance of the cat, illustrates Steinlen's gift for infusing everyday subjects with charm and character. Created in an edition of several hundred, it forms a companion to his winter cat, together capturing the seasonal moods of his feline muses. Despite minor signs of age caused by prolonged contact with glass, the print remains in notably good condition and reflects the enduring appeal of Steinlen's graceful and atmospheric style.
I brought a Warhol print of Jackie. It was a gift from my husband's cousin, who had also received it as a wedding gift in the 60s from his brother, whose father-in-law worked for Warhol and was in some of his films.
Well, you're right about it being a Warhol print. This particular print is called Jackie 2. It is of Jacqueline Kennedy. It comes from a portfolio called 11 Pop Artists that was produced in 1966.
Jackie 2 is a screen print created by Andy Warhol in 1966 as part of the 11 Pop Artists portfolio, a project that brought together influential voices of the pop art movement. The print depicts Jacqueline Kennedy, rendered in Warhol's unmistakable visual language, simplified forms, high contrast imagery, and a lavender background that heightens the emotional distance of the scene. Warhol often used celebrity figures to comment on fame, tragedy, and the media's power to shape public memory, and Jackie 2 is a clear example of that approach. This particular impression is especially noteworthy because it is an artist's proof, marked A.P. on the reverse. Artists' proofs were examined and approved by Warhol himself before the main edition was produced, giving them a closer link to the artist's direct involvement in the printing process. Combined with the iconic subject matter, this proof reflects Warhol's fascination with repetition, image circulation, and the transformation of public figures into cultural symbols.
Warhol prints are highly desirable. Jackie, particularly, is one of the images that people like. The replacement value on this print we would expect to be around $20,000.
Yeah, I was thinking more like 2.
So you're pleased?
Yes,
Good.
very, very.
When I lived in New York City in my younger days, I was a bird watcher. I still am. And at that time, there was a gentleman. He was a good friend of a couple that I was good friends with. I only knew him a bit. But at a certain point in his life, he was still fairly young. He started to pass away. And I think he was trying to move things out of his personal belongings. And at that time, it was offered to me, and I purchased it. It's a Audubon print. And it's 2 peregrine falcons eating 2 ducks, a gadwall and a green-winged teal.
This artwork is an original hand-colored aquatant by John James Audubon, one of the most influential naturalists and bird illustrators of the 19th century. Born in Haiti and raised in France before settling in America, Audubon devoted his life to documenting the birds of North America with scientific precision and dramatic artistry. His monumental project, The Birds of America, consists of 435 life-size plates, each engraved and hand-colored with exceptional detail. The print described showing 2 peregrine falcons capturing a gadwall and a green-winged teal belongs to the celebrated Havell edition, 1827 to 1838. Engraved by Robert Havell and printed on large, double-elephant folio paper, these works are admired for their craftsmanship and rarity, with only about 175-200 impressions made for each composition. The presence of the Whatman paper watermark confirms its authenticity, while the life-size renderings reflect Audubon's dedication to portraying birds in their true proportions. This particular image is notable for its dramatic energy, the tension of the hunt, the striking intensity of the falcons, and the powerful composition that captures nature in its rawest form.
If it's there, in an auction, this would probably go for about $12,000 to $14,000. If it's been trimmed, that would cut the value by 20, maybe 30%. Now, if it didn't have the dead birds in it, it would sell for a lot more. They can go for as much as $150,000. If you took out those dead birds, you're probably looking at a $60,000 print.
I bought it at a yard sale in Washington, D.C. about 10 years ago.
How much did you get it for?
$10.
And what do you know about it?
I looked him up on the internet. I know he is a German impressionist.
Okay.
That's about it.
All right. Well, the artist who has signed it down here, his name is Emil Nolde. He was a German expressionist artist. He was at the vanguard of a movement known as German Expressionism.
This artwork is an early etching by Emil Nolde, one of the leading figures of early 20th century German Expressionism. Born in 1867, Nolde became known for his deeply emotional style, marked by bold lines, dramatic contrasts, and an experimental approach to printmaking. Although he worked across many mediums, etchings, woodcuts, lithographs, drawings, and paintings, his prints are among his rarest surviving works. The piece discussed is a finely executed etching portraying Nolde's wife, Ada Nolde, in an intimate and introspective moment. Created in 1906 and printed by Otto Felsing in Berlin, it reflects the artist's tendency to push traditional techniques to their limits. Nolde inked the plate heavily, creating dense shadows and a moody atmosphere, and even used a bluish-black ink to heighten the emotional depth of the portrait. What makes this work particularly significant is its rarity. Nolde's prints were produced in small editions. This one is marked as number 3 of approximately 20. The survival rate of his early works is exceptionally low, as many of his pieces were confiscated and destroyed when the Nazi regime labeled him a degenerate artist. Consequently, surviving examples of his etchings are treasured artifacts of expressionist printmaking.
We would estimate this at auction for around $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
So you did a great job finding this at a garage sale. Congratulations.
It's very exciting. Thank you very much.
It's a wonderful work of art.
Wow. Wonderful.
I hope you're blown away. I'm a bit blown away.
I am totally blown away. I did not expect that.
Well, I got it from the here in Elks Lodge. They had it, and they're doing a remodel and didn't have a place for it anymore. And I had admired it for years at the lodge, and I approached them one time about purchasing it, and I got it.
Do you know anything about the image?
I don't. I tried to look it up, and I just have not found any information.
Okay. Well, it's actually a fairly famous image from the 19th century. It's by a woman artist named Rosa Bonheur.
This impressive print is based on The Horse Fair, one of the most celebrated works by the 19th century French artist Rosa Bonheur. Born in 1822, Bonheur became one of the most renowned animal painters of her era, admired for her precise draftsmanship and her deep understanding of the anatomy and movement of horses, cattle, and other animals. The Horse Fair, completed in 1853, was the monumental painting that established her international fame. An enormous canvas approximately 8 by 16 feet, exhibited in Paris and widely praised for its dynamic realism. Because of its success, the image was reproduced in numerous print formats throughout the 19th century. Publishers issued lithographs, chromolithographs, and engravings in many different sizes to meet widespread public demand. The example described here is a large chromolithograph, a process in which each color is printed from a separate lithographic stone. Given the sheer size of this print, its production would have required unusually large stones and exceptional technical skill, making examples of this scale remarkably rare. Although its exact publisher is uncertain, many scholars believe that Napoleon Saroni, a well-known lithographer associated with the Goupil firm, was involved in producing prints of this subject. Despite some condition issues, such as areas that have stuck to the glass and aging wood backing the print, remains a striking and historically significant interpretation of Bonheur's masterwork. Its scale, craftsmanship, and connection to one of the most iconic images of the 19th century underscore its artistic and cultural importance.
Now, how much did you pay for it when you bought it from the Elks?
$500.
$500. And you knew that was a good value, right?
Yes.
But you have a sense of what you think it is worth, right?
$5,000 to $8,000.
You're not far off on that. It's a little hard to judge because in some ways it's so big that not many people can have a space to hang it. But I think really in a retail environment, even in this condition, you're probably talking about $8,000 to $9,000.
Awesome. Thank you very much.